let's move on to our next match. We have Staz versus FroStee coming right up, and both these players have took interesting approaches to me. I think Staz again just plays in a very unique way. In which I can never decide on whether I like it or not, but who cares what I think? It's the results, and Staz so far doing pretty well, sitting at third in his division. Whereas FroStee, again, like we said, sixth, so, kind of dicing with death a little bit. But FroStee has done away with his Murloc Paladin that he kept submitting. So that, I think, although Murloc Paladin has been the bane of my life on ladder the last few days, I think it's definitely the right option because I don't think you can afford to play decks that are very, what's the word I would use? Coin flippy is the terrible choice of word I'm going to go for. But I don't think you can play those decks in Grandmasters. I don't think they're quite good enough unless the meta is like perfect. Unless literally everyone's playing like Druid or something. Every game you play is against a Druid maybe. But other than that, I think it's too risky, and I do like the more... Like, look at this. This just looks better.
Standard stuff. Yeah, I think cheese decks is a decent way to put it. Where, some of the time you're incredibly happy and it manages to sneak a win. Most of the time we can agree it's a very low power level deck. But here for FroStee, it has been more preparation from him this week. In the previous weeks, he's been putting some of the other Grandmasters on blast for not practicing enough. But he himself has been endeavoring pursuits in some other games at the same time. Whereas at this point, this week, I've been watching his stream a fair bit. I know you have as well. And it feels like he's much more focused in on...
Lasered in.
Exactly. On putting a good performance this week in Hearthstone Grandmasters. He's been right there up at the top of legend ranks, primarily with Combo Priest, which is, not necessarily in its own right the most impressive of feats, but for the mere laymen among us, it seems fairly impressive.
Yeah, putting the hours in, though, I think is the important part, right? Or at least seem to be putting the hours in. Obviously, not every single player streams, or at least we can't catch every single player streaming, but FroStee definitely one of the ones who's most... openly putting forward tons and tons of hours into prep. But let's take a look at Staz's build. And Staz, you can say what you want about Staz. He always does his own thing, doesn't he? He's bringing Murloc Aggro Shaman, which with the 0.5% pick rate across Grandmasters.
Only
Staz. And then Bomb Warrior, which again has been Staz is bringing the last couple of weeks. And again, not many people have been touching that. And then his signature Hunter, which is his Highlander Hunter. Staz plays Hunter every opportunity possible, so I give full respect for that one. And honestly, I quite like his lineup this week. Normally I have questions about Staz's lineup. He's even brought Priest, which was banned, so fine. He brought Priest, so tick box 1 for me. And then this lineup, I think this is different enough, but in the right way.
I feel like the way I want to describe Staz, I was thinking about this, is he feels like the platypus of Hearthstone to me, where, how they evolved very separated from the rest of mammals, so they're really weird compared to all other mammals, like they're the only one of two that lay eggs or whatever. And then they seem very weird. But when you think about it, they've survived until this far. They're doing something right.
We just don't know what that thing is.
Exactly. And that's the thing with Staz here. His practice group seems to be very, very separate from the rest of the practice groups, because obviously a lot of the European and Americas players, there's a lot of inter-regional practice groups happening there. And even within the Asia-Pacific region, we're seeing players like Glory and, of course, Alutimu have been practicing together a lot as well, both Japanese players. Whereas Staz, he's just absolutely on his own thing, week after week. And honestly, I kind of like it, even though we've seen some pretty big hiccups in his play. And, just some misunderstandings of how the metagame works in parts as well. He does weird stuff, but it's good.
Honestly, if there's something I respect a lot, is a player that does their own thing. I think bringing good decks to a tournament is key, right? That's just straightforward. But I think players who say, actually, I want to play this because I like it and I think it's good, and they put their money where their mouth is, basically. You know what? They have my respect whether they win or lose at that point.
I thought you were about to say, if there's one thing I can respect in a player, it's having both fur and a beak.
That is a weird combo.
It's very weird.
And they've also got kind of claws, right? They have kind of otter-style clawed hands.
Hands.
I don't think they're hands. I don't think they count as hands. Imagine that. It's got fur, a beak, and human hands. That's such scary.
As scary as it is.
would freak me out if another animal just randomly had human hands. Just imagine an elephant, but its
Me
hands
too.
were like massive, just human hands. It'd be well weird.
Imagine if they were still human-sized.
Just okay. I don't know where to go from that.
Yeah, I've been resetting my sleep schedule the last couple of days, so I'm operating on less than the usual amount, which may lead to, of course, elephant hands.
Great for a 6-match broadcast. Yeah. You've lined that up perfectly. But here we go. The Secret Keeper, always a nuisance when played early and not really contested, and can continue to be. It's just whether Staz wants to go for Freezing Trap or Kill Command. I think Kill Command does have merits here. Just Kill Command trade. There's nothing really that's going to punish it too much.
Were you saying Kill Command trade over Freezing Trap and trade?
Quickly.
The problem is, does Staz want to use Freezing Trap on a 1-3?
Not really.
So he could just Kill Command the 1-3.
There's not really anything against wherever you want to use the Freezing Trap on the... Yeah, I guess because it would mean attacking Coin, Restless Mummy, it just works out pretty nicely.
And also as well, there's even Snip Snap next turn.
Good point.
So there's attack, then Snip Snap comes
true.
down, you're like, great, I'm actually behind on board, what? So I think I do like this overall, and you know what? If Coin Restless Mummy comes out, Warpath comes out, then that one drop's done a lot of work.
Yeah, I guess if you play the Secret there and Frosty has Snip Snap in hand, he's probably not going to attach it and then attack, right? He's going to
Yeah, so
attack,
he'll attack,
play it
but what I mean is he'll have a Snip Snap versus a pretty bad minion. Right?
Yeah, that's what I mean, is if Frosty was a poor player, he might attach first and then...
Oh, you always make the play on ladder.
Yeah, exactly. Frosty not going to be tripped up by something like that. Especially as Freezing Trap wasn't even played and Frosty doesn't even have Snip Snap.
So now there is Rat Trap and Snake Trap.
And I think he can rule it down to exactly those two. Oh no, and Pressure Plate. As well. As he played the Warpath, then the minion. So yeah, it could still be Pressure Plate from where he's sat, I think.
Do you think there was ever a reason to do it the other way around on purpose?
That's interesting.
Oh no, my 1-drop died after drawing a card. Like,
Yeah, maybe you're right, actually.
it's something I've thought about a lot when about Pressure Plate, is actually, do you just throw a minion away into it that you can afford to?
Yeah, like usually for Warrior it's not so bad because they don't have so many cheap spells they want to weave in. It's usually big spells like Plague of Wrath or Brawl. But with the Coin in hand, I think maybe it was... Yeah, I think I would have liked that, actually.
Because I've been playing a lot of Hunter as well, and it's something I've thought about a lot then, because there are a lot of, or at least the Hunter I was playing was like the Beast Hunter.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of little tokens that mess around with, especially with the Desert Spear. And I was thinking maybe I want this to be Pressure Plate and it just kills a 1-1 with Rush.
Right.
Like, is that just really good, actually? Also, speaking of really good, just Subject 9, fantastic to be played on Curve in this deck. It, 1, gives you your secret powers for the following turns, and 2, it actually just things your deck way more than you normally can do with this list.
Yeah.
So I've seen so many people keep that card in the mulligan time and time again.
Oh, absolutely. Against Warrior, it is the absolute truth. I think it's one of the highest mulligan win rate cards. It's you know, it's a little unfortunate for Staz that he drew 3 of his secrets beforehand, but given that he's playing the full 6, outside of Misdirection, 6 secret suite package outside of the more usual 5, it's I think reasonable to assume he'd get a couple of those first.
Are you feeling it?
Your magic.
Oh,
Staz
what?
is
50.
Oh yeah. So does he actually go for Freezing Trap?
How good is bouncing back and I'll make a Dillo? Pretty good,
On turn
actually.
5? Well,
Pretty good,
slash
yeah.
turn 6, I guess. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
So it's
I
a
think
long
so
way
too.
away from her being replayed. And anything to keep this Spellbreaker safe, because it means that you can potentially push more and more damage.
Yeah. Of course, with a second Restless Mummy knocking about in hand, you can see a test for that first, and yeah, he'd probably rather get the Restless Mummy bounce back to hand. Rushing out for 6 mana is pretty good. It's just bouncing back the Armagadillo because he has exactly 2 taunts in hand is not
Gotta think
that
about it.
bad.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta
not
think
that
about
bad. Especially as he could draw Ziliax off the Town Crier here, which would mean another taunt being activated. Unless, of course, he wants to play Ziliax.
I think this is pretty good.
No tune can hold me.
I think so too.
Just gets a little nod of approval.
No tune can hold
Clears the
me.
board, like you said. Although Armadillo at 8 from turn 6 isn't great for FroStee, he isn't under any pressure, so he can wait. And he has Weapons Project as well if anything emergency comes down.
Staz now in that situation against Warrior. It seems to happen all too often where you're essentially playing a mid-rangey aggro-y deck with very, very little card draw. And he's run out of useful cards.
Yep.
Staz, it's worth mentioning, has stayed away from the build of Highlander Hunter that some players like Surrender have been adopting, where you throw in Houndmaster and Scavenging Hyena as well. A list I'm actually quite partial to. I think if you're going to go for the Highlander, because I think it does a slightly better job against Druid, which is a very important matchup.
I was playing somewhere in between myself. So I wanted to play Bloodstinger, so I dropped the Houndmaster, put Bloodstinger in.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I definitely keep the Hyena.
Yeah.
I like the Hyena a lot.
Me too.
And question here. So Staz equipped the weapon and swung face,
Right.
which I'm not the biggest fan of, because with FroStee playing the Town Crier and drawing a rush that he didn't play, which is always Ziliax, should he have just
Yes.
played Snipe? And even if he doesn't play the Ziliax, it either kills or sets up a kill on any minion that's played.
It's true. And
What does the bow face do? Like,
well, I think like if he's gonna play bow, I quite like swinging face because of Weapons Project. Like getting a double activation bow there is just devastating.
but like, was it better than anything else that turn? Like, you know, just randomly
I
3
don't know.
damage to face? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it was just a secret turn on that turn, or just a hero hack turn.
Yeah, I just mean like, the bow just feels like it's not achieved much. And if you thought it's not going to achieve much because of Weapons Project,
Yeah.
then even more so do you not need to play it. You know.
Does set up for this turn. Assuming that he does not attack it, which I'd be pretty surprised to see, of course. He's going all in, setting up for the highest charge bow possible, to which FroStee says, "Ahahaha."
Exactly.
I assume.
Just a note as well, FroStee isn't playing the Whirlwind Warrior list or anything like that. He's playing much more standard Control Warrior that we're used to seeing in previous weeks. So there's no, for example, Zephyrus that can come out and completely flare away all of those secrets.
For 8 mana, this Armadillo is insane. It's just
I like
so
this play from
powerful.
FroStee, actually.
Just chill. Yeah, if it goes long, he wins pretty much every time, right? It's only Zul'jin he has to be afraid
And the
of.
thing is, it's the old... Right, it's slightly different because the snipe went off, but generally, an idea you have versus a hunter that does this, if they have 1 bow charge left, just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Just don't proc the secrets. That is cool. Don't worry about it. If you've not got removal. Obviously, FroStee has removal, so he
Yeah.
could have broke the weapon if he wanted to.
I guess so.
Are you aiming about the into snipe, into tunnel blaster?
Yeah, just because it's so easily cleared up the board now. The play was just to attack base, like activate as many of the
break
secrets
the
as
weapon.
possible, and then break the weapon. But I guess getting the Armadillo in play is
More important. I'm not actually sure.
Follow-up's pretty good.
Its follow-up is, of course, insane. Yeah. And this is the reason why you make the play.
But now, as is often the case with Hunter,
Yep.
Staz is just looking at his watch. I'm wondering what happened to his appointment with Zul'jin. He's late.
I could have sworn I ordered a big axe. Can I get a large hatchet instead?
I think FroStee is going Maximo Greed with this Weapons Project and just try. He wants to proc all the secrets and then Weapons Project Harrison it. Or just straight up Harrison it, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe. Maximo Greed, coincidentally my favorite Formula 1 racing driver.
That was DJ.
Well, Shadow of Death is available, or, you know, whatever removal piece it be, Deadly Shot off of Zephyrus, should Staz deem it necessary
Ooh.
to kill this off.
I'd love a deadly shot, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Just Zul'jin pool, better card than Death, right?
It does actually matter. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Yeah. You'd rather have Deadly Shot for sure.
Oh, I guess it doesn't count, right? No, it gives you the card. What am I talking about? Yeah, it does count.
Yeah.
Okay, for 1 second then I just fell into a pool where Zephyr's cast the card, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. Ugh.
Still not as bad as Sea Giant evolves into it. I was trying to think why I thought that, because I guarantee I've seen that before. Oh, now you offer Master Spell!
Yeah. Soul's there taking notes.
Pretty good, actually, here, to be fair.
A draw a card is actually a big deal. And you know what? Also good for Zul'jin. Staz, you're a madman. Wait, what?
This was a disaster!
I just don't know what to say about that turn. So Ysera...
What? The is happening?
The problem with Ysera is if this was Ysera in 2014, right, then I'd be like, great. But
Sure.
but right now,
Nice deck of Maz.
Warrior, you've got to assume FroStee can deal with Ysera, and is the one card from Ysera actually better than drawing a card?
I mean, in this instance, quite obviously not. Especially as he missed the attacks.
But
And
in every instance?
I think in most instances, yes.
Like drawing a card,
Yes.
getting closer to Zul'jin has to be better than... What's the best Ysera card here? The Dragon?
Maybe.
7/6?
Yeah.
But-
Dream can... yeah.
So you can dream as Ysera back?
I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
maybe you can dream back a big minion or something. I get some tempo at least. Because it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that Ysera will die. It could survive.
It could. But then... It's weird, right? Maybe I'm going too much in on Ysera.
Maybe.
But I feel like the power level of Ysera's card pool is so bad compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
Like, Ysera cards used to be insane. Now we have like 1-drops that do what Ysera does.
Times have changed.
So my worry
Future is
is,
now, old man.
are even 2 Ysera cards better than drawing a card and having a Master Spell in your pool for Zul'jin?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think...
And you could have kept more minions alive.
Right, and I think that's by far the most egregious point to me.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that Master Spell was necessarily a better card there in terms of the
ship,
the tertiary
simple
effect
level
it
of the
has.
card.
Yeah, it was more just the fact that it silenced off 5 attack from the board.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens now. FroStee has a way to deal with Ysera if he desires. And there's a Awakens, which is actually, I would argue, kind of bad for Staz. Because if he plays it, Zul'jin plays it. And takes that.
I guess
Takes
that's
10
bad. Yeah, I
damage.
guess that's bad. Because it clears off the Unleash the Beast.
Yep.
Wyverns
And
as
anything
well.
else, Animal Companions, anything else like that. And also deals him 10 damage, which I think that 10 damage is way more important versus Hunter than it is versus Warrior.
It's hard for me to shake my mindset because Ysera Awakens has traditionally been the best one in pretty much every situation. Yeah. Well, not a bad card. Staz, I mean, to be fair to him, Staz has pretty much all the good cards left at the bottom of the deck. We're talking Hunter's Pack, Zul'jin, Siamat, which he's now found, Snip Snap, which he's now found, High Main.
High Main, yep.
Yeah. Like, almost every high-value card has been left at the bottom. But there's also a fair few dead draws as well. You know, with all the secrets being found, that's better. But Spring Paw left at the bottom of the deck. Animal Companion, I think, you know, would not be that good. Masked Contender, obviously nothing at this point. But it is obviously not over for FroStee yet. I think we can clearly say his removal is starting to run a little bit thin. It would be fair to say. And Zul'jin is an incredibly powerful card. Let us make no mistake.
One of the problems with this deck, though, is once Zul'jin board has been cleared, which a Brawl and a Shield Slam will clear it, a Warpath and a Plague will almost always clear it based on a couple of things, then the deck doesn't do anything else, right? The Shield Slam going down on the right. But yeah, it means that as long as FroStee has a clear for Zul'jin, then I don't really know what Staz does, and FroStee's not even played Boom yet. That's a good one.
Well, you say FroStee hasn't even played Boom yet, like when he does, that will be a big boon for him. It's more like the fact that he hasn't played it is very bad for him because he wanted to have played it before now, right? And have started accruing value.
Oh yeah. I just mean like when he plays it, the mechs with Rush versus Hunter are insane, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
I mean, like once
yeah,
the
they
board's
are.
clear, Staz will never stick a minion ever again.
Right. And yeah, I think the fact that he hasn't even found it yet is like a big
Yes.
downside to his game plan, because if he had found it at this point, it would be looking
The game will be over.
pretty
probably, yeah.
decisively over. Yeah.
But what I guess what I mean is, if FroStee draws Boom, any turn before Zul'jin gets played, it's insane.
Fair point. Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah,
insane. Like
I agree.
I don't know how Staz wins, because with Boom active, then it's just like Warpath, Plague, the Zul'jin, and then any minion gets played is just dead.
I'm just arguing semantics here.
Yeah.
Staz gearing up, I think, for a Ysera Awakens it, just to clear off these 1-1. Is that ever the play? No. Okay.
Just more damage to his own minions.
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
Welcome to my world today. This play is bad, but it is funny though. Way, let's go.
The microbots in unison. Oh no.
Is there like wondering whether you can just do like this is probably a bit greedy, but like a weird trades and then like a Warpath just into the
Plague of Wrath.
not even Plague. I wonder if you could just get away with just playing the
Just Warpath.
the Wardens.
Oh, okay. So
Just like trade, Warpath, and just let Staz have 1/1s and not really care.
yeah, I think it's 1 damage off from being able to like clear off both the snip snaps and then go for it, but then that'll still leave you see a match play. 5 more parts.
Yep. It's fine. There's still, most importantly, there's still Brawl for FroStee, which means he has like an answer to Zul'jin.
Be able to get the war parts off. We've seen so many rope miss attacks and miss things in GM so far. Wouldn't have been too surprised. Is it confirmation bias that I feel like we're seeing more rope plays missing out on attacks and stuff in this year's competitive circuit than last year? Am I just forgetting all the times that happened last year? Because it feels like it's been happening more this time.
Maybe you're casting more. Do you know what I mean?
Fair point.
Like your blocks are like, 4 or 5 hour casts for 3 days a week.
Yeah.
That just didn't happen last year, right?
It did not.
Well, that was like a side dig. I didn't mean it like that, Derek. And look, come on, you didn't cast that much, did you? You know I didn't mean it like that. Oh, Dire Frenzy.
Dire Frenzy with King Crush?
Eh?
Obviously not on the same turn. Like tracking is bad at this point,
Yes.
right? Because you don't want to cast it and then have Zul'jin recast it.
I'm sure Dire Frenzy is the only actual card you can even pick in these 3.
Hunting party, is that ever a thing?
What beasts are even left?
Spring Paw? You'd rather Dire Frenzy or Spring Paw. Yeah. And
Unleash the Beast if on lips after Zul'jin.
True.
8/8's pretty cool for 5 mana.
And you can't Hunting Party spell.
Exactly. Top tips with Derek Brown.
Don't be stupid.
Tip 1. Don't be dumb. Tip 2. Refer to tip 1.
Tip 3. See you, GM. FroStee's still here, as so often seems the case when Dr. Boom has not been found.
Oh.
Unable to really lock down this game. Because as it creeps closer, Staz is getting, again, just closer and closer to that Zul'jin,
Okay.
which is really annoying.
Staz has to make a decision how he wants to play out the rest of this game. He either goes Animal Companion, Dire Frenzy now and tries to do something.
That's so
he
bad.
either waits, but then his option is going to be wait for Bran, play Bran, and then Animal Companion, Dire Frenzy, then Zul'jin. The problem is, based on the order of his card draw, this might take him 6 turns.
Yes.
Which is the question as to... But the problem is, I think he has to make a decision right now as to how he wants to play the game.
I don't know. Shuffling 3... What if he gets Huffer? Like, the thing is, so every card he draws that is not exactly, I guess, Bran, but mainly Zul'jin, is a terrible card. It's the only thing he wants to get right.
If he doesn't Dire Frenzy. Whereas if he does Dire Frenzy, every card he wants to get that isn't Bran is good. Because Bran doesn't work.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he Dire Frenzies this turn, he does not want to draw a brand. If
Right.
he doesn't Dire Frenzy, he exactly wants to draw
I
a
wasn't
brand.
even considering the Highlander effect. Sorry, I was really
Yeah.
just considering the fact that it delays his
No,
draw to the
yeah,
good
yeah.
cards.
It's the Highlander issue with Bran.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying he has to like play Bran,
Right.
then Dire Frenzy,
I understand.
Animal Companion, then Zul'jin, so he gets the full
Yeah.
effect of every card.
I guess this makes sense because the thing is, like, after Zul'jin comes down, there's a decent chance that a beast will be left around on the following turn. Maybe.
Well, that's the problem. If there's a maybe, then there's a decent chance there might not be, which
That's
is
fair.
scary.
At the very least, he has Spring Ball left in the deck, right? So he can just go.
Very least, there's always a spring ball.
Light the fuses!
It's true.
This is scary though.
Yeah, things starting to come together a little bit more nicely for FroStee now. Double brawl for if things go wide. And of course the Omega Devastator for if they do not.
Well, it's a good draw.
Where's the action at, Staz?
You'll find me wherever the action is.
Didn't really answer my question, but thanks anyway.
Mess up your intro for that one. Should be where will we find you, Staz?
Sorry, I completely... I don't understand your question. I think I framed it perfectly.
Okay. And here's Omega Devastator. Some players have cut this card. It blows my mind.
So FroStee, what did you say for last?
What now?
Wait for it. Great timing, Darren. You've got great one-liners and great comedic timing.
I guess he's not going for it.
That's truly
saving it for last. Exactly. Yeah.
There we go. We got there. No, it just does it, and you're like, oh no! I'll take it back.
I saved the best for penultimate.
That common phrase. Oh, keeping the 3-4 and using Plague. I mean, he has double brawl, to be fair. He has brawl into Omega Devastator. That's better than Plague of Wrath.
Yeah, rocking the one Plague of Wrath list with both Warpaths having been played.
Unleash Dire Frenzy. Let's go.
What is this game where both players have their hero card right at the bottom of their deck? Have they both got them in there?
Well, they're on the list, Darren.
think
but
so.
If they actually have one, I don't know.
If they don't, not only will they have not included it, they will be disqualified for cheating.
What a weird way to cheat. I'm going to cheat by taking the best cards out of my deck. Haha, they'll never see this one coming.
Got him. More fantastic cards being generated there for FroStee, which, interestingly enough, you know, we were talking about how there's a lower chance of finding class-specific cards.
I know, it's filthy,
He just
isn't it?
manages to nail 3 Warrior class cards and 3 of the best mechs in the
Yesterday
game.
against Warrior, I faced 3 Tomb Wardens, 3 Omega Devastators. I was like, Blizzard? I was going to ring up and complain. You said there was a fix that went through for this.
Excuse me, this is statistically slightly less likely. I'd like a full refund, please.
Oi! Zul'jin's in the house. Is he going to do anything, though? Plays a lot of secrets. I feel like in this deck, Zul'jin just becomes a bit of a gossip.
How so?
Doesn't really do anything apart from just start telling people secrets. That's it.
And smashing them in the face with a huge axe.
Didn't really do it this turn, if he
fair.
played it. Unleash Dire Frenzy. Let's go.
Saving the best for last as well. You know, it shows as well how much he doesn't want to play the Ysera
Wait.
Awakens because it was really quite good there. What?
Should he have Ysera first?
That's
Yeah, Ysera Unleash.
what do you mean Ysera Unleashed? It doesn't summon anything then.
Wait, I'm trying to. No, I'm trying to
Glory
think.
Knife,
So he does he go face and then Ysera?
Well, he doesn't. I guess he does
Because
want
it
to
could
play
sell
Ysera
lethal.
now.
It could sell lethal.
Yeah.
He does 5 damage next turn to FroStee.
Yeah.
And depending on timing, he might end up with an Unleash if there's any minions played next turn from FroStee.
He holds off.
Oh.
That could have been 10 damage over the next 2 turns. And if he'd
I
launched
think
the
he
Force
should have
of
done
Face,
it.
I think he should have done it as well. Yeah.
There's kill commands. There's
Yeah.
stuff.
And the thing is, I still think he's so unlikely to die because he clears off the board on his Zul'jin turn 100% with the
Right.
Ysera Awakens in play,
And
right?
he'll be on. What will it be on? Depending on what happens
19
this
down
turn.
to 14 health. Like, he would never
Say
die.
he's on 10 health.
He would
doesn't
never
die. He
die.
doesn't die.
Yeah.
Even if he's on 10, right?
Yeah.
And the
I
problem
guess
now
it
is
would heal for 2 for his opponent. And
if he plays Ysera and Awakens now, then
He can't.
It's
He
just
can't
delaying
full go
Zul'jin.
Zul'jin, right? I mean, actually, sorry.
But he can
He
because
could. He
Ysera
could.
Awakens
Yeah.
does what you want Zul'jin to kind of do. Oh, I think this Awakens needed to be played.
Me too. I get that he's afraid of it causing more damage to him than his opponent, but I just don't think that's likely to happen.
Well, what's going to cause more damage to him is he's probably going to take damage.
Yeah, I guess it would have cleared his board here.
But
I don't know.
Well, it might have cleared his board.
Yeah, yeah,
It
right.
played
of course.
first.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It was close. It was very, very close.
I like rolling the dice. And it would have made me look stupid for questioning the Ysera pick. That's why I would have done it. Oh.
Decent chunk of damage coming through now for Staz.
Oh, if only that was on the dog.
Yeah, that would have been insane.
So he gets to push, what, 6?
Could, of course, preserve the health total on his Wyverns if he'd like to by attacking one of the dogs first.
Don't think it's worth, right?
I mean, this just gets brawled every time anyway, right?
Staz knows Frosty's sitting on double brawl, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, he saves health on 1. I think I would have still like 2 damage there. There's Ysera Awakens in hand. Push every point of damage you can.
But now FroStee needs to be considering the secrets as well, all of which are back in play, my goodness.
Well, Brawl Omega just deals with everything no matter what, right?
It does. Activate Snipe and Snipe only.
And it lives.
Which is fine.
Through Snipe. Does he even need to play it? What if he just shield blocks?
Kind of got a feel for FroStee, right, with literally last card Dr. Boom.
I'm going to feel for Staz. FroStee literally last card Dr. Boom and he might win.
I don't know at this point.
Oh.
I think Staz might have too much stuff. He has got 3
Those are some
4/4
big
doggies
boys, yeah.
and 3 8/8 Wyverns. Wyverns, if you will. Now I guess he can just save the Ysera Awakens for
For
5
lethal.
extra burst damage at the end. I think he's got it.
It's kind of why I like the 2 damage from the dog as well.
Yeah. FroStee
Hey.
cannot play Elysiana here.
Can play Boom then.
But he has to.
This story
Oh,
deserves a new
He's just
And Staz with the heads up Ysera play from 20 turns ago. Still not convinced, but it will give him lethal next turn.
These cards suck. These cards are really bad. Oh, but
So-
of course, with the lower chance of discovering warrior cards, Elysiana becomes a lot worse as well.
Oh yeah,
Consider
yeah,
that.
100%. Yeah, it's discover a card, so it means it hits neutrals and warrior. But that is gonna be the game. Oh, there was a high main. I completely forgot about. The high main must have been like the
Still
bottom card,
bottom of
right?
the card, yeah.
Completely forgot. But Staz takes the victory with the hunter there. And again, as always, and as is tradition, I feel, Staz throwing us some curveballs with this hunter play. I love it. It's fun.
I know, it seemed like it was so over for him for the longest time, but I guess the thing is that with his deck that is relatively heavy for a warrior, for a Highlander hunter, it obviously gives him a decent shot against the warrior. And I think I'm still just having to reevaluate how these matchups seem to go with warrior, because I think I overestimate consistently its ability to absolutely lock out games. Because Highlander hunter, we frame it as an aggro deck, it has a lot of longevity. But
does
I don't think
now.
we give it due
Yeah,
credit
yeah.
for. Yes, good point.
Yeah, in its earlier builds, I was querying it because it literally just ran like Bran and Zul'jin, and that was it. But now it's gained Siamat. It has a little bit more beef, the high mains as well. But I do have to wind back a little bit and just think he discovered a Dire Frenzy, which made that game a lockout. Without
True.
a Dire Frenzy, that game wasn't necessarily as over as it was. Obviously, the Ysera Awakens cleaned up the final damage.
Good point.
But suddenly, if there's no 8/8s, there's no dogs that are buffed in the deck, and there's just a high main and left, you know, then maybe it would have been a little bit safe enough for FroStee to survive. But that was just game number 1. Staz taking a win with signature hunter for him. Let's see if FroStee can fight back in game number 2. We'll be right back after a break.
Here comes the boom! Somebody order a bomb!
No. No. No.
Here comes the thing.
This should be interesting.
Your will is no longer. Magic!
Okay then.
Need a hand, Explorer?
You'll find me wherever the action is. Onward to adventure.
Magic!
We're back and ready to go with game number 2 between Staz and FroStee. Staz took game number 1. Good timing.
Cut away from you.
That's probably for the better, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Staz took game number 1 with the Hunter, and I believe FroStee is switching to his Druid, and Staz is going to be playing his Warrior, which, let's talk about both these things, because both decks are kind of interesting. Staz is playing the Bomb Warrior, which is sort of I would argue a crossbreed between Control and Bomb. It has the Bomb package, but then also runs on Megadillo, Tomb Warden, and so on. So it's kind of just a mix with 2 executes in there, which is pretty nice in general, I think. Whereas FroStee's Druid deck is a little bit weird in itself, right?
Yeah, for Staz, first of all, I feel like his deck is, as is so often the case for me with Staz, I think it's onto something so fantastic, but isn't quite there. Like, I feel like it's the first iteration of a deck that I think could actually have a lot of potential, where he's gone with a hybrid between the Taunt package that we see traditionally in Control Warrior, or at least nowadays in Control Warrior, and substituted that into the Bomb package, Bomb Warrior package, whereas he's gone with a lot of one-offs of cards that I think should be 2-offs that are very, very powerful in the deck. For example, like Eternium Rover, I think there should be 2 of, or Town Criers, more 1-drops at least. And the way he's done this, of course, is by cutting out the Shield Slam Shield Block package, I suppose you could call it, in the deck, and putting in executes in there as well. I think it's really, really close to the mark, but personally, I would like to see maybe 1 Brawl cut out, put in another 1-drop, maybe another Dynamatic, so that you can go all in on this kind of mid-rangey curve plan. Because if you remember back to Season 1 of Grandmasters, a lot of Bomb Warriors were playing 1 Brawl. I think some were even playing 0.
What about a Zephyrus? Start to look at the if you want to cut a couple more cards, Derek, start to look at all the one-offs in the deck. Warrior is the type of deck that's getting there at the moment. There are some players that are submitting it because it's close with all the legendaries it plays to actually just, you need to draw like 5 cards and it's suddenly Zephyrus is active. And in Warrior matchups, you only get to draw some cards. But anyway, let's go into this one. FroStee versus Staz, game number 2. FroStee on the top on the Druid. Pretty streamlined list, I'll call it.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, and Staz on this warrior, and already there are just some problems. Staz being able to coin Alec into a wrench caliber is something that Druid isn't really equipped to deal with in any way.
Yeah, and this, does this is obviously a little bit results oriented, but it does harken to my thinking with Staz, where this hand looks fantastic until you look at the brawl. Like, I think in all the matchups, there's very, very few where he is deliberately, I suppose you could say, falling behind to catch up with the brawl again afterwards. I think I would like to see, even if it's just one brawl, because you have to think about the matchups that you're going to be facing. Against Druid, I think he wants to be on the front foot the entire time. There is no way that he can exhaust all of FroStee's removal. All of FroStee's threats with his removal cards. He has to be the aggressor.
I'm actually starting to lean towards the point where Plague is actually a competitive card to play instead of Brawl sometimes as well. Because I think you can do cooler things with Plague where you just Plague one minion. Like trade one of your minions into a high health thing, Plague it, move on with your life. Whereas Brawl would be much less consistent. Obviously Brawl does a different job than Plague, but still. See the Loti come out as just rush Loti to be able to just slow down this aggression. But Staz is still going to get some power going forward. He's got a lot of options now, and now guaranteed to draw a mummy from that down crier.
He's got a lot of options, but the one he opts for is swinging a wrench
really
directly into
like
his
it.
opponent's face. Me too.
And is FroStee going to draw the turn 5? No. But Wrath for 4. It's a pretty good card.
Yeah, I think FroStee's still in a very reasonable position here. Staz's mid-game is slowing down quite drastically over the next couple of turns. Like, Ziliax on its own is okay. Town Crier plus Mummy is okay. Whereas FroStee is ramping up quite literally with that Nourish. Is that literally? I suppose he is ramping up because he's ramping his mana. Like, it's an alternate meaning of the word, not a... Yeah.
Well,
Like, he's not
going
putting
up a
up
ramp.
Yeah. But he is...
But yeah, I mean,
literally
the
ramping
meaning
up.
we have attached to ramp
Yes, he is
makes
literally
it literally work.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. We'll go with that.
Language and meaning.
Etymology, lexicography with Raven and Derek.
I think if we're talking about this, you should go with Darocus.
Derocus. Derocus Maximus.
Now, still just getting that Nourish down is huge. Again, just the card that makes the deck, in my opinion at least. Because once you play a Nourish, the deck just comes together. When you don't have a Nourish, you cry and lose most of the time.
I think that was one of the first revelations I heard after the Saviors of Uldum came out, is people were saying, why are we playing 2 Overflows and 1 Nourish? Overflow sucks. I'm playing 2 Nourishes in this deck. Like, because everyone predicted Overflow was going to be one of the best cards of the set. It's at
Compared
surface
with
level.
UI,
Yeah,
it was compared with UI when it got announced.
Exactly,
Right?
and it is an insanely powerful card. It's like the vast majority of the time strictly better sprint, and by quite a margin. But yeah, I fully agree. Nourish is really along with Oasis Surge, the heart of the deck.
Yes. And the issue as well is with Overflow. Is if Overflow was in any other class, maybe best card in the deck.
Very possibly.
But to play Overflow in a class that has Nourish and has access to Quest is absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if there was a Druid deck that played kind of to this speed but didn't run Quest, you'd probably play Overflow because it does more of the stuff you'd want to do. But ramp and draw is just insane.
Imagine it in a Holy Wrath Paladin. Literally draw your whole deck.
You just wouldn't need to play any other card draw. You should play like competitive damage. You should play competitive damage minions early game. And just well, I drew my Overflow. It's time to activate Shivala. Holy Wrath win. But now we see FroStee fighting back for this board. He does play the Scenarios, and with that Floop in hand, as you can see, it means that, well, not only does he have another Scenarios in hand, he has a third. But most importantly, plays along the lines of the Floop Scenarios with Starfall open up potentials of huge push damage from Druid. And FroStee does have to play in a bit of a weird way now, because he's really cut down the late game of this deck for the change of just having stronger early game. But it does mean he has to make the deck work versus Warrior if he's not going to ban it out.
That's right, and that's why I think for FroStee now, he should consider very, very carefully whether he wants to keep developing these minions, because, like you said, with no King Phaeorus and no Elites in the deck, he is incredibly threat light, and therefore every minion that he throws down to just be cleared off with trades on board is the closer he is to just being locked out by double board. Or even single board. Like, he has very, very little in the deck going until he gets through 18 cards of his deck. And the problem is, of course, against Bomb Warrior, as he draws through his deck, he dies. So he can develop.
Well, Starfall does clear this up.
Yeah, Starfall Scenarios doesn't actually seem that bad.
I'd play that. Because FroStee can't take his time.
Yeah.
He just can't.
Yeah.
What he needs to do is set up a turn. The only consideration I'd have...
Oh.
Again!
Oh.
Scenarios has just turned into Meeseeks. They just keep pressing that button and more keep coming out. They're like, just kill me now. But
I'm Scenarios, look at me.
But for me, maybe FroStee... I mean, it's good that he got the other Scenarios, right? That made this turn a lot more straightforward.
Yeah.
But he needs to maybe wait until Zephyrus is active, then go. Because it'll be like Scenarios clear the board,
Yeah.
Zephyrus, Savage Roar, or Bloodlust game.
This is all just so far away, and I wonder here, with his plan of holding the Scenarios as the flute version, holding back flute here, is he trying to save that for Chef Nomi? I honestly think that's
Oh, you can...
that's way too late game thinking.
And you definitely bored me by now, but I keep thinking that every time I see Nomi, the game's either been played in a very weird way that I don't think it needs to be played in, or the Warrior has just got 18 Brawl versions, you know, where they can clear it. And like, look at the meta game right now. Does Nomi ever actually realistically get played in any consistent fashion? And if it doesn't, then I don't think you can plan your gameplay around it when you're getting beat down, right?
I think against the the super controlled Warrior versions, you can consistently plan your game.
Maybe it's just my experience. It just feels way too slow.
Yeah. I like one extreme or the other. I'm slowly realizing. Like, I think I like either FroStee's list, where it's like very, very light and clearly not trying to beat Warrior consistently, or the super greedy versions. Because the thing is, as the meta develops, Warriors are getting more and more removal heavy. They're playing like 2 Plague of Rats. Shaxxi's playing Deathwing. So we're seeing more and more of these board sweeping effects.
I guess then, like, my question is, should Nomi be King Phaeorus then?
Yes.
You know, that's my question. Yeah,
yes.
in this, that's what I mean. In this version, if you're not going to go to Nomi Extreme Land, do you just and cut King Phaeorus? Then do you just swap them? Play King Phaeorus in this list and play much more of a late game, which I'll accelerate to because of Nourish. I'm going to play a more insane tempo matchup and then just kill you.
Like, I am personally a much bigger fan of King Phaeorus in the deck than I am of Chef Nomi. I would gladly pay you 15 worth of stats Tuesday for King Phaeorus today.
FroStee, even though he gained the armor, he took the hit of the bomb.
He did, but I think that's pretty much all the bombs soaked
And I think it's worth. Like, FroStee wants to draw his deck,
Absolutely.
as long as he doesn't exactly die.
He's still very, very safe as it currently stands.
And I think this is a turn that FroStee just may as well hit an Oasis more than I don't think he needed to in terms of his health. But I think he may as well. He doesn't want to play anything else yet.
I think this is very strong against Warpath, which is a big tick for it. And I think playing the other Scenarios would have been too much of an overcommittal into the Brawl, which comes down anyway.
Exactly.
Whereas now we can see Scenarios.
Best of both worlds.
Scenarios.
He healed in a turn that he had time to heal. Why not?
Why not indeed?
You just charge this in?
Yeah.
Or rush this in, or, you know, before someone's... I'm gonna charge. Zephyrus still not live with only 9 cards left.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate.
I haven't done the... I mean...
What is it?
Well, the problem is, it's hard to do the maths on the Zephyrus. Like, average active point,
Oh, it's
because you need to know how many 2-ofs there are, and that changes with every single player who's submitted to it. So I need to, you know what, Lorinda, if you're listening, which I'm pretty sure you are actually, make me a calculator.
Do
so
my
that we can
work
just
for
put,
me.
Yes. But only because Lorinda's good at that stuff. But it would literally need to be something where you just put the amount of 2-ofs in the deck into a calculator, right? And it just spits out the average turn draw. Or the average turn activate. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's only Oasis Surge that he has left in the deck that's a
He's not
2-off
played a
at this
single
point.
one, has
No,
he?
I don't think so, which is pretty sad, actually, for his game plan.
Okay, so you know, that's not calling Frosty sad. It's pretty sad that you've not played this. It's like,
What a nerd.
I would have drawn both Surges.
What up? It's me, Chad, from high school. Still haven't played any Oasis Surgers?
You have your exquisite memes that I approve of, and then you've got those.
Yeah, I have garbage memes for upset teens.
There's number 18 coming down now.
But is it enough? Maybe is the answer.
Well, honestly, with double swipe, there's the Starfall. As soon, the thing is, as long as Zephyrus is in hand, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
Double swipe.
It's really
Yes.
close. It's really, really close.
You do it every time, right? Because then it opens up for an next draw.
Do you ever
Zephyrus
Is
lethal.
there any reason to Starfall? Yeah. I think you probably do. It's the fact that there's the 7 armor that you're staring down at, which disincentivizes you from doing it.
But still.
Like maybe you value trade and then go for Hidden Oasis on your own minion, on your Scenarius, to get a resilient board, and then possibly swipe the minion, swipe the remaining Tomb Warden.
Doesn't sound like 2 swipes to face to me, though. That's
Getting lethal there is just, it's so unlikely
yes,
to happen.
Frosty, that's it. That's what I'm talking. If you could swipe face twice and move on with your life, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Look at this push.
Fair enough.
It's so, like,
It's good.
even if he armors up, he goes to 9. It's just Zephyrus Fireball, GG. If he gets hit with snares, of course. There's a lot
Whole
of
bunch
edge
of
to that.
neutral mechs here. Staz, which is obviously nobody's looking.
Take that, warrior.
But Harvest Golem, Weaponized Pinata, Hero Power, clears the board, gets him a legendary, gains the necessary life to survive.
And he knows there's no charge minions coming out because all of the discovers have been played. So there's no, Druid of the Claw,
Right,
for example,
yes,
to like
you're
get him for damage from hand. Like Druid can't, especially with 2 swipes gone. That's it.
It's only Zephyrus.
It's Zephyrus, and so like honest plays apart from Zephyrus, who I believe is a very dishonest genie. Sometimes he offers you stuff, sometimes he doesn't. There's no consistency there.
Time for a master plan.
There's 100% consistency. We're just not on a high enough
Oh,
plane
okay.
to understand.
Just so alien to us
Exactly.
that we cannot even grasp.
He's on
Zephyrus.
the astral plane.
When we make a hey! Where's Soleil just comes in from the side. Ding! Done.
There we go. That is the card that Frosty needed.
Yep.
The Nourish to be able to draw through to activate the Chef Nomi, which without obviously he has no chance
Whoa.
of winning. Wait, is
He's
has
bottom
he played
2
Oasis
cards as
Surges?
Surges?
Has he
Wait, the
played
Zephyrus
one?
wasn't live then, was it?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I
Because
mistook.
if he'd drawn one, wasn't it correct to play Zephyrus to get Pyroblast to win next turn?
Seems rational to me.
How is bottom 2 cards? Surger?
Again, I'm not going to put my
Okay then.
Career on the line.
nail my colours to the flag. What's the expression?
I think you're just saying words now.
Yeah, I think I just am.
Start making some up. I'm not going to string my bow to this play.
This would be a good time for
What
a
does that even
master
mean?
plan.
You know what it means.
And with all his apples in one bag, Staz here does need to try and find a way to close this one out.
This would be a good time for a master
I believe no bombs left in the deck as well, so Blastmaster Boom is unactivated as it currently stands. We could not even have to worry about all this nonsense. Because Zephyrus now has to be activated 100%. Which
That is also
obviously-
known as lethal.
Staz is only out
So-
here with Zephyrus being bottom card.
Yeah, I guess.
And that, like, out. That's just like...
Yeah. And that's going to be the game, and FroStee evens it up with this Druid. It looked a little bit dicey in places, and it definitely could have gone either way. But both players having kind of weird draws.
Yeah.
In that there wasn't tons of bombs from Staz.
Yeah.
There was like, one or two. I think he had a lot of his bomb activation lower in his deck, and obviously the Elix gone early on. But yeah, FroStee fights back and gets a win. I'm kind of, I don't know why I'm surprised at that. I think I just saw 18 scenarios get cleaned up and thought,
That's good.
oh, that's the game.
Yeah.
But I think really the double swipe did it.
I think so too. I think in retrospect that was probably the way to go, just to go nice and aggressive to close things out. But it's an interesting dynamic because looking at FroStee's list where he's cut out pretty much all the top end as well as Elise in the deck, your instant reaction is he's against Warrior. That's a bad matchup. But then when you break it down further and see Staz is playing more of a mid-range than a control deck, in all honesty,
Yes.
with just a couple of removal tools thrown in there to swing the board, I start to wonder if FroStee actually had close to the optimal anti-bomb Warrior list, where he's not running too many of these clunky cards. He's able to just consistently get mid-game pressure down, even without Oasis Surges, with them both being right at the bottom.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
It's quite
like,
a feat.
both of his Oasis Surges just didn't play that game, and it's pretty much what, top 3 cards of the deck, maybe even higher.
Yeah.
Maybe best card in the deck is in isolation.
Arguably.
So yeah, he managed to get the job done without Oasis Surge against more of a mid-range Warrior. So very impressive. And I've heard opinions from some players. We do see some players, beating Druids by doing the extreme late game removal. But I've heard some pros just say, well, actually, as the Druid, you should be beating the Warrior before that even happens. Like, you shouldn't be trying to play for that slow Nomi. You can just play something, push. If they clear it, push. And then again and again, kind of like what FroStee did. He just went, obviously with the Discover's help, but he went like Scenaris, and then they can't keep clearing. And at some point, you just push that. Even if you swing once every 3 turns, the amount of damage you have on the board as Druid, those one swing every few turns just easily start catching up and put the Warrior under a lot of pressure, especially with those double swipes. So kind of get the job done.
Yeah, and I think that was definitely more so the case a couple of weeks ago when players like Firebat and Bunny Hopper were saying you don't need the top end because obviously you can beat the Warrior consistently enough. I think now as we're seeing more players move towards double Plague of Wrath, some players putting Deathwing in, putting Whirlwind in for more activators, I think we're getting closer to the point where you do have to go very greedy with Druid to be able to consistently beat those Warriors. But I think that FroStee here does have an interesting way of taking it with his slightly leaner version where he's able to play more of a mid-game than a late-game plan. And it worked out for him here.
Well, it's going to be a funny interaction as well. Just before we move on to the next game, the final game of this series, which is going to be Warrior versus Aggro Shaman or Murloc Shaman. It's going to be interesting the way the meta might flip and kind of flop over the next few weeks, because if more players play Melee Druid, like Melee Druid, Warrior just dies almost all the time. But Warrior can play cards like Hecklebot, which can completely mess that up. So I think it might be a little bit a weird game of sort of tag, where depending on what everyone's bringing, will alter the build of Warrior, and then that'll just go in a circle, and whoever guesses the best each week has a slight edge on the matchup. Because you look at all of that and all of the whole, well, they run like 8 different board removals. Well, they still die to Moonfire. It doesn't really matter. They can remove the board all they want. If you just go Mally, Moonfire, they die. Well, who cares about board removal? So I think it would have been a good pick this week in APAC, since no one brought it, because of that reason. But the second you're in someone running Hecklebots, or they focus and they have more armor generation,
things get scary.
Then you can do like 60 plus damage with that deck, but it's just swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Is what I'm trying to say.
It's adorable watching you trying to find a reason to not play Malagos Druid, because I know you don't have a single one in your head. You are baffled as to why people don't play it.
It's really good. Put it this way. It crosses the line when Hunter submits it. That's when I'm like, yeah, Hunter gets all his best ideas from me.
Honestly, a great metric.
Yeah, it is. It really is, isn't it?
Would you like to chuckle along with FroStee at what just happened?
Yes. I've seen too many Mercs over the last few days. I don't find this funny. It hurts my soul, actually. I find myself naturally being biased towards FroStee winning, and it's not because I'm biased towards FroStee or Staz either way. All I see is Murlocs versus not Murlocs, and I want the Murlocs to die.
But this is FroStee, who is a traitor of the fish people. He used to be a champion of the Murlocs, but he's since forsaken.
And then he found out their dark secrets and left.
There's a movie in here somewhere. FroStee is fish traitor.
Really catchy.
No tomb can hold me.
And as it's somewhat expected, when one player is playing what is mostly just kind of vanilla neutral minions that don't have especially high stats or especially strong effects, and the other player is playing warrior cards, which are some of the best in the game at the moment, understandably, the player who is playing Murlocs is falling behind.
It is, and this is why I think you're with me on this, or I'm with you maybe, but FroStee's running 2 Eternium Rovers and 2 Town Criers and 2 Frightened Flunkies. That is a deck I want to play if I'm playing Warrior.
Yes.
Because someone said, I saw someone in, I can't remember whose stream I was in, someone was like, oh, so is Cleric, if Cleric got nerfed outside of Flaming, are there like no good 1-drops anymore? And I was like, Town Crier, Eternium Rover.
Yeah.
It's like, because they're insane. They
They're
might
the two
not
best 1-drops like ever
statted.
printed.
They might not look the best because obviously a Flame Imp is a 3-2, a Town Crier is a 1-2. Look at what they do.
Yeah.
They just win games. Or they buy Warrior time to win games anyway. It's insane.
I mean, Town Crier is like, in my opinion, like way up there.
The
Like-
Eternium Rover, you play it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
turn
it's
1 against
good.
any aggro deck, and
It's
every
just
aggro
good.
deck's like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I do
Yeah.
now?
But of course, you know, this deck from Staz is not 100% dependent on curving out and keeping board for the entire game, as Murloc decks traditionally have been. He has a couple of extra tools that you can use to generate either ridiculous amounts of value or very high amounts of board control as well. I'm of course talking about Underbelly Angler if he wants to go for a big value turn, especially as he's still got Scargill knocking about in hand. And of course, Soul of the Murloc. He's able to just play a bunch of Murlocs in one turn, maybe with that Scargill, and then play Soul of the Murloc. If he's not looking down a Warpath, maybe he's able to stick a board for Bloodlust, which is his out at this point, because make no mistake, he's pretty far behind.
Yeah, so this could go even as deep as getting Scargill, holding the Cold Light Seer, go wide with the Murlocs, and with Cold Light Seer, it makes the Murlocs take more Warpaths, which means the 1/1s from Soul of the Murloc are much more likely to live, which means you can then Bloodlust or double Bloodlust the turn
genius.
after. It's a very, long-winded and multi-step process.
Yeah.
But at this point in the game, I think Staz has to start thinking about some long-winded multi-step processes to win, because I don't think playing minions on curve is going to get him there.
Yep.
Staz disagrees, as is often the case with me and Staz, but I don't foresee him winning by doing this, at least for me.
Well, this is pretty close to the all-in, and I think the very, very important factor is this is heading into playing the Scargill one turn before 4 Warpaths can be played in a turn. So I think it has, if it's ever going to survive, it's this turn. But I fully see your point that your plan revolves around Scargill not necessarily surviving. It just does its effect in one turn. And
So
then you follow up
You fill the
afterwards.
board, and then you play Seer. Seer makes Scargill a 4/6.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't get Warpath down.
Yeah.
And then the 1/1 survive, and then so on.
I think there's positives and negatives to either play, because say he takes too long and all of a sudden FroStee plays Armegadillo or 2
Oh,
Morden,
100%. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
the game just snowballs out of control. But I appreciate your point that something has to go right to win the game, so you should play to that out. I just think for Staz, with this play, it was still an optimistic play. Something could have gone right, which that there was no removal, and if it hadn't been there, maybe he can stick. I don't know. If he gets top deck Underbelly Angler, then we're talking.
Oh, yeah.
Because as it currently stands, I think his hand is pretty much 100% dependent on Underbelly Angler at this point.
Yeah. And the good thing is the Tasty Fin is going to draw on 2 Murlocs, which means it's
That is true.
increasingly likely he's going to hit one of those.
Yep.
The problem is all mana now. With Scargill gone, unless he gets one from the Angler,
Yeah.
then he can't actually generate that many Murlocs, and you just have to assume Warrior is not going to let it live more than the turn it's played.
Ziliak's weapons project available on this turn to clear up pretty close to everything. But I guess giving a weapon to Staz is something that FroStee's afraid of. Makes sense, I suppose. Timely Toxfin.
Does he trade? I think he trades first, right? Yeah, just put a Tasty Fin in first in case he gets the Angler.
Yes.
And then he goes off with Toxfin. That's the only problem with the Toxfin, right? It's so cheap. You really want to play it with Angler, but not getting one now is just... I wonder if he's even going to play any more Murlocs now.
He only needs one. He only needs that one to go off with Angler. But I guess the thing is, what does this actually do?
Well, that's what I mean. It's more like... okay, cool. 2 1-health minions. Let's go.
I guess if he were to hold everything back, maybe that gives him the out of Soul of the Murloc.
It just gives him choice as well. You know, again, this is, I feel like, Staz kind of going all in.
Yeah.
I know he has Mermy, but the problem is, if Angler just gives you, like, I don't know, it's hard to say the wrong Murlocs because most of them are so cheap.
Yeah.
But what if you get, like, a Tasty Fin? Well, then that's 4 mana, and then you end up playing, like, 4 Murlocs, and that's it. And then the game ends. I don't know. It's tough. It's really, really tough game for Staz right now.
And as FroStee goes with the Warpath, which for the foreseeable future at least looks like it puts FroStee in a near complete win scenario. Unless, of course, Angler does discuss it. You know it can. This harkens back to what I was saying about Staz, where it feels like he's so close to something here. Like, I fully am of the opinion at the moment that Shaman is a very underexplored class and a very powerful class at the moment. Be it controlled Shaman that you're going for, be it token Shaman, a kind that Jambre's been knocking about that's basically quest Shaman without the quest that still does mutate stuff. Whether it's full-on aggro Shaman. I think there's lots of room to explore. I just don't think this is it.
Yeah, and well, for me as well, it's where the format gets hard, right? You could just say, well, why didn't Staz ban Warrior? Staz banned the Zoo, and he has decks that are decent versus Zoo. He has his own Warrior, he has his Hunter, he has this Shaman and Priest. I don't think any of them are just completely bust versus Zoo. And he could have banned Warrior, and some more of his matchups look a bit better. But with a floating deck, it gets very difficult to actually predict the impact of the ban along with the shield and how it all ends up working out. And also, what if FroStee just didn't queue Warrior? He could have queued something else. I just think it's very, very difficult, and maybe we don't do a good enough job of explaining just how difficult this format is to play in terms of, well, sometimes you just hit the bad matchup and then you 0-1 in a best of 3. Your opponent needs to win one more game of Hearthstone, and then you've just lost for a match for the week. But I do think there are a couple of things that could have been done to help a little bit. I don't know if Zoo is the ban.
Yeah, I see your point there, fully.
It's just difficult, is my overall point.
I get his thinking, because I guess he's hoping to just swarm out the Druid and the Priest, which you can do. I think if he's not hitting exactly the Druid with this Murloc deck, I don't get why you would bring it over another better version of an aggro deck. Like, bring Zoo yourself. If you're Staz, Zoo is good against Druid. We know this. I don't get what this deck is doing that Zoo isn't.
Now FroStee. Maybe going back to the cult of the Murloc, with his Murlocs on board now. But also as well, let's be, Staz hasn't drawn Angler. He's not drawn Soul of the Murloc. Literally his 2 best cards for the matchup.
Yeah.
Not drawn any of them. So it's definitely been an uphill climb for Staz, but I think it's as time is ticking on now, this is getting worse and worse. Grizzly, play it. Let's go. You've seen one Toxfin. There's a small... Wait, what? Explain, Derek.
That looked like a pretty easy Grizzly.
That was a 310!
Yeah. I guess he wants to kill Staz, and this does more attack. Right?
Okay.
You're a Hunter player, Colin. You can appreciate this.
I'm a Hunter player, and
line.
Grizzly's a beast, okay? There's always a reason. But I just think, like, yes, but if he never dies, he just wins. I don't know. I would have picked Grizzly there. I'm confused, but it's a smaller point in the grand scheme of things.
Terrible draw there for FroStee. He's unable to get his opponent's minions damaged. to kill them off with the Plague of Wrath.
Not true. He could use it to snipe off that spell damage total. I mean, we all know in this matchup.
So Warpath Plague, we're all thinking here.
What now?
You just slam Elysiana. If he really wants to kill Staz, then.
This
Yeah.
story deserves
I guess so. I'm always hesitant when Doctor Who hasn't been found. I think, yeah, I agree. It's just not really necessary. Blackwall Pixie seems good.
Mischief Maker.
Silverback Patriarch seems terrible. Octosari seems fantastic. A true FroStee meme, as he lost
Frosty's
last
like,
week.
well, I won't actually say what Frosty's probably thinking about. 'Cause I don't think I can say that on stream.
Blimey.
Yeah. I don't like you much. Wait, is that bugged?
Oh.
That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I guess it wasn't concealing any information necessarily. It's just it usually shows both copies, right?
Maybe it came in the new patch.
They broke Titanic Lucky and made Elysiana. Well, they did actually. Make
I know they did
Elysiana
make
worse.
Elysiana worse.
Yeah.
Accurate patch notes, thanks though. Maybe Bloodlust here to do something. So maybe the Plague was worth it. The spell damage tome's got a lot to answer for now, hasn't it?
Well, the thing is, with his Super Collider, if he'd attacked into the Spell Power Tome, it would have smashed into the other
killed
one
it
anyway,
off.
so he couldn't have used the Plague to kill it off, even if he'd wanted to. Ah.
No, you Warpaths.
Oh, right, yeah.
Warpath Plague just.
Okay, the game
on!
begins! Right,
Game on.
finally, here we go. That is the one card that does anything.
Ah, it's over. Is that the worst Murloc?
Okay, there's still a 2-1 in the way, but if you can get a charger here,
Does he actually roll
That's
for
not
taunt? He has to, right?
just to stay alive. Are there any 1 health guys he could get? There aren't any, right?
One health Murlocs? No.
Well, 1 mana Murloc, sorry, that would kill off a 2-1. I don't think there are. Yeah.
Nope. Oh, what a god!
Oh!
Oh wait, it's Project.
It does give the extra health though, right? Is that
It
still
does.
lethal?
I mean, it's Warpath. It's lethal. One way or the other. FroStee. Super important win for him.
Yeah.
As you can see, he was 2 and 4, and now he goes up to 3 and 4, and takes just a little tiptoe further away from the relegation zone.
As he goes, microphone activated
Activate.
as well, ready for an interview. I'm glad we're finally getting to have an interview with one of the players, because there's been so many interesting decisions that have been made by all these players that I always want to ask them, but unfortunately we are Luddites who speak but one measly language. But thankfully FroStee also speaks that one measly language, so we can get
We
some of his
lined up.
thought process behind these decks, because there was a big deviation for FroStee, even though his lineup this week is, I would say, pretty standard. What is definitely arguably the 4 best
The
decks.
good stuff.
Exactly. It's a big deviation from what he's done before, where he was consistently bringing that Murloc Paladin, which wasn't working very well.
Or even
for him.
Holy Wrath Paladin a little bit before
Yeah,
that.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so he just shied away from Paladin, and he's got a win. So maybe that's lesson learnt. We'll be able to speak to him in just a minute. But commiserations for Staz taking the loss. Staz is doing well. I think that makes him 4 and 3.
Yeah,
Now
and
he was
3 and 4 for Staz.
Yeah, exactly. FroStee. You said
Yes,
3
sorry.
and 4 for Staz.
Yes,
there we go.
other way around. I
But yeah,
apologize.
still 4 and 3. Although obviously Staz would like to have won and gone further up. 4 and 3 is still a very solid score, which means he's still looking okay in his group. But I believe we've got FroStee hanging around. Can you hear us, mate?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well, thank you. And how's it going for you? How do you feel after winning that match? Because you're looking a little bit dicey towards the bottom of the division. Does that match win mean a lot to you now? Because it kind of takes you one decent step forward.
Well, yeah, it does help me feel good, but I'm feeling pretty sick about it. You know, I'm feeling quite unwell because I actually came down with a little bit of a sickness over the past few days. So, you know, this is going to help me to a speedy recovery right now. You know. Because that's how these things work.
Oh, it's all mental, of course.
Of course.
So what changed in deck submission for you this week? Because we've seen you submit Murloc Paladin, we've seen you submit, some of maybe the more out there decks, I'll say. But this week you seem to submit like the solid, good 4 decks lineup, and it seemed to do the job for you.
Well, I looked at Priest, saw what it did last week to me, and decided that there was absolutely no way that I could not submit Priest this week.
Good work.
And even though I didn't play it, it is still like by far the most busted deck. So I was like, well, you know, maybe this Murloc Paladin thing isn't working out for me, and I just need a better aggressive deck to put in the Murloc Paladin slot. So I started playing some Zoom, like, all right, well, this will work just fine. And let's just try to figure out the other two decks to bring there as well. So I just tried the good old strategy of bringing good 4 decks and seeing how that would work out for me. And well, lo and behold, it worked out pretty dang fine.
Turns out good decks are good.
Yeah, and I know you're selling yourself short by saying you haven't played the Priest. We've been watching your stream. We know you're up there in the legend ranks, jamming away that Priest. But the thing I want to ask you is, do you now consider yourself even with the universe, with Octasari last week and now Bluegill Warrior this week? Is it even, or are you still at a deficit, do you think?
Whoa, hold on a quick second. Did we see that game one where Dr. Boom Mad Genius was the bottom card of my deck?
I was lamenting that one for you.
That's true,
The
that's true.
universe was still out there, okay? Don't get it twisted.
Okay, well, I feel like with the win, you're on the comeback of evening it up anyway. Things are going to go your way going forward. But we'll let you go, mate, and I hope you feel better quick as well. But congratulations on the match win.
Thank you.
Okay, so FroStee again, and I'm always a fan of a player doing their own thing, you know, like I said a little bit earlier on. But if it's not working, the recognition that it isn't working was, I think, something that stung the most players last season.
Yeah.
Of like sticking to something that was not going well, but just sticking to it for another week. And another week is another 2 matches. That's another 2 potential losses because of that. I'll say stubbornness, but I just think maybe faith is the word more reasonable to the outcome. And I think being able to acknowledge that, you know what, I'm going to try this because it should just be good. I'm going to give it a try, make it work, not do anything too fancy. And it working is pretty difficult for some players to do, I think.
And I think that's been one of the biggest faults of Asia Pacific as an entire region, where a lot of the players are too stubborn, too afraid to branch out with some of the weirder decks. Where we're seeing, you know, I think Staz at this point, where he's brought Highlander Hunter every single week so far, it feels like he should maybe be spicing things up. Samuel Sau with a lot of the same deck lists week after week. I want to see something crazy from these players, because generally when players are a bit more advantageous, they're playing a lot and figure out a weird deck that seems to be working well for them. Often that's because it's good, and you should bring it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the effect Quest Paladin had a week or so ago when it just, everyone who brought it just demolished their opponents with Quest Paladin specifically.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that was just a good pick for that week. But anyway, that was match number 3 done for the day. We've got 3 more as it is Fantastic Friday or whatever we're calling it. I feel like we call it something different every week now.